Hello, I'm Joel Blackwood with Beth Hesed Sabbath Fellowship, recording another message for you. We are not open, so please call 612-315-6778 before you attend to make sure that we're open. We do the philosophy of eschatology, what you need to know, your reality, what's going on, and it's a strange reality at times. We try not to be disparate. There's nothing more frustrating than realizing that this idea doesn't square with that idea, doesn't square with the Bible, or what you're seeing in front of your face. So we're going to try not to gaslight you or ghost you or anything like that. We're going to try to give you what seems to be occurring in a prophetic sense and things like that. So this is strange. I've been one of the last guys to buy into the Nephilim, the giants of Genesis 6:4. The problem is the more I study, the more I realize that we're going to be bumping into, you can call them ETs or extra dimensionals. And what are they? What's going on with this? And why do I read suddenly, in the last couple of years here, Revelation 9 differently than I ever read in the past? Well, it's because of her, Rebecca Sterling, and her video number 5. So look under Skid Davidson, A Voice Calling in the Wilderness, and look for her video series and watch this particular one. So this is why I feel that we need to discuss this one more time, because somewhere after the fourth trumpet and Wormwood, and you'll know what Wormwood is, okay, because your waters are going to turn bitter, you'll notice some strange things occurring. She's saying basically that the Pope is going to call a conference at his Rome soccer field and bring in all sorts of strange aliens, extra dimensional, she calls them. So there's a picture of what she shows, which is, and peace is the phrase that matters. So keep in mind that when Paul tells us and warns us in 1 Thessalonians 5:3, when people are shouting peace and safety, oh, everything breaks loose. So she's talking about 3 days of hell on earth: avalanches, blizzards, cyclones, droughts, earthquakes, epidemics, extreme heat, extreme cold, floods, hailstorms, ice storms, landslides, impacts from space, sinkholes, solar flares, tornadoes, tsunamis, volcanoes, wildfires, and extra dimensionals coming at some point in time. So I think you should mark your clock with Wormwood and start watching for those types of things after that time frame. So Wormwood, then comes the extra dimensionals. It's Star Trek. It's all of those things. The ancients will call them, and strange. And lower left hand side is the Antichrist getting his golden crown of some sort. So once again, Revelation 8 goes through the first four trumpets. The last three are the three woes. And a third angel, that is the third angel of the trumpets, sounded his shofar, his trumpet, and the great star, blazing like a torch, fell from the sky onto a third of the waters and made those, and onto the springs of water. And the name of the star was bitterness. That's wormwood. And a third of the water became wormwood, bitter, Mara, like Mary. Many people died from the water that had been turned bitter. The fourth angel sounded his shofar, and the third of the sun was struck, also a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that a third of them were darkened, and that day had a third less light, and night likewise. And I looked, and I heard a lone eagle give a loud cry as it flew in mid-heaven, saying, "Woe, woe, woe to the people living on the earth because of the remaining blasts from the three angels who have yet to sound their shofars." That's when I think it's going to hit. So that's getting close to the midpoint. And I think I need to warn you about what's going on, because we're doing the philosophy of the end times. We're trying not to twist the Bible. We're trying to relate to prophecy properly and give you the real news. So this is where I think you're going to start seeing this. This is that fifth angel, the first of the three woes. Okay? Fifth angel sounded the shofar. I saw a star that had fallen out of heaven onto the earth, and he was given a key to the shaft. Okay, so this is outside of our dimension. This is outside of the sun, the moon, the stars. Well, it's part of the stars. And one of the stars, Astarte in the Greek here, literally drops down out of the sky, hits perfectly into this shaft, and operates like a key to open up the abyss, the abuso, the Tehom, the Tartarus, if you're looking for 2 Peter 2:4, and there seems to be creatures chained down there, and God tells us about it. You have to kind of dig through 2 Peter 2:4. You really have to dig through what is it, 1 Peter 3, also, 3:18 through 21, and then there's some of it in Jude, and there's some of it in Ephesians. There's just a whole lot of this stuff where Noah flood, you got some rascals that seem to be chained down there and some angels that fell. So keep in mind, according to Michael Heiser, Dr. Michael Heiser, some angels fell, and that was the first fall, not Adam. Not Adam. Adam and Eve were tempted after the first fall by the Nakash, the serpent, or the shiny thing, or whatever it happens to be. Adam and Eve fell secondly. They didn't fall firstly. And so when you run around and people say, oh, it's all sin, man's sinful. No, 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 no. We have choices. You know it. You have choices yourself. So keep that in mind. So this is that perfect strike to the Abuso. The Tartarus, if you want to call it, too. There was smoke from the shaft, like the smoke of a huge furnace. The sun was darkened, the sky too. Smoke from the shaft. Out of the smoke came locusts onto the earth, and they were given power. Exousia, which is, they have delegated power, like the power scorpions have on earth. God gave scorpions the right to sting you if you violate their turf. They were instructed not to harm the grass of the earth, nor the green plants or the trees. Only the people that did not have the mark of the seal of God on their foreheads. So if you go back, this is Revelation 9:4. If you go back to Ezekiel 9:4, you're going to see that this guy, an angel, is running around with an ink marker, and he's not tattooing, he's inking people with a tav. Well, that would be like a broken cross. Something like, Yeshua was tortured on a stake cross type of a thing. So that's what it would look like, an old-fashioned tav in the, not the modern one. Not the Babylonian script, but the pre-Babylonian script is more paleo, and it looks like a broken cross. It looks like an X, okay? Kind of an X that isn't perfect. And so that's what that mark would look like. So I think you might literally have to have a mark, because a lot of the things in Revelation are spiritualized, but they're really real, okay, as you get closer to them. So the mark on their foreheads, the locusts were not allowed to kill them, only to inflict pain on them for 5 months, 150 days. Look at that in the Bible. 150 days matters. It really does. Especially in Noah's time. And the pain they caused was like the pain of a scorpion sting. In those days, people will seek death. That's basically suicide, but they will not find it. They will long to die, but death will elude them. Continuing on in Revelation 9, now these, according to two sources, 9 feet tall locusts looked like horses outfitted for battle. On their heads were what looked like crowns of gold, and their faces were like human faces, and their hair was like women's hair, and their teeth were like those of lions, and their chests were like iron breastplates, and the sound of their wings was like the roar of many horses and chariots rushing into battle, and their tails were like that of scorpions with stings, and in their tails was the power to hurt people for 5 months, 150 days, and they had a leader, a king, 12 feet tall, according to two witnesses. Over them that was the angel of the Abuso, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and our language, the Greek, is destroyer. Interesting. So they're going to be huge. It's going to be bunches of them. They're not going to be little tiny cute things like the one on the upper right-hand side. They're going to be big and nasty, and you're going to have to start. Up until that time, you can probably get by and say it's cosmological. Things are falling from the sky and burning things up and causing waters to be bitter and other things like that. At some point in time, this is going to be a freak show, and you're going to have faith. Hopefully you'll start working on it, because you're not going to be able to fight something that's that much bigger than you and stronger. Depending upon the depiction, we're not sure exactly what they're going to look like, but they're going to be more like a hybrid. I think the guy off to the right here is fairly accurate. Bunches of those guys. So that's Steve Kruitz. Don't know who he is, but it's interesting that he describes it that way. Here's another series of it, John, writing, and these types of creatures, whatever. And don't worry, I won't kill you. Well, they won't. They'll sting you and hurt you. So then comes the 6th trumpet after that. That's even worse. I mean, if you think this is bad enough, there's more hybrids coming. So continuing on, this is why I'm giving you this information right now, because an Israeli space chief came out the last couple of days here. He retired basically and said, okay, we've had contact. Trump is aware of this, but Trump won't tell you. Trump was going to blab about it because Trump likes to do that, but the Galactic Federation stopped him. So I believe that there is contact being made, and I believe that the Roman Catholic Church is aware of that on certain levels. Now, As always, I love many Roman Catholics. They're wonderful, godly people. But there are certain people in the highest levels, according to Malachi Martin, who was a Jesuit, there in his book, The Windswept House, uh, in the upper echelons, there are some evil people. And so just keep that in mind. So according to these articles, this Israeli scientist is saying they've already made contact and they're just kind of waiting for us because we aren't ready. We just aren't ready for whatever's going to occur. But it looks like it happens based on what Rebecca's saying, based on what I'm reading in the Bible, close to that midpoint. That's when you have to bug out. More articles about it. New York City UFO sightings in 2020 are up 283%. And people aren't out on the streets, so if they're seeing them, they're in their houses, which is kind of weird in its way. So I want you to just see that I believe that the Pope is going to be part of this. And for those of you that take offense to that, I'm not the only one citing this. I'll be able to cite some Catholics that are frustrated with him too in just a moment. So the false prophet exercises all the authority of the first beast, that's the Antichrist, in its presence. And it makes the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast. So it's his job to pull people together to then worship the Antichrist, the one whose fatal wound had been healed. It performs great miracles, even causing fire to come down from heaven onto the earth as people watch. It deceives the people living on earth by miracles it is allowed to perform in the presence of the Antichrist, and it tells them to make an image honoring the Antichrist that was struck by the sword but came alive again. Mysterious monoliths in Utah, they're popping up all over the place too. It's like, what's up with that? Things are getting stranger. Okay, so here it is. Even Roman Catholics are frustrated by this. Darth Vader is in the nativity scene at the Vatican this year in 2020. Yep, this is real. This is real from a couple of different articles. This is a Jesuit review magazine saying we don't like this, okay? So Mary looks like a space alien. Joseph looks like a space alien. Yeshua looks like a space alien. And then there's this horned space alien too. And it's all just freakish, okay? Darth Vader would feel at home there, okay? So if 2020 was bad, this made it worse. So here's a Catholic scholar saying this is bad, thumbs down on all of the ET type stuff. Mary was not an ET. And this is somebody's characterization of Francis delivering horror shows, just how horrible this is. So here's a horned demon in the nativity scene, and in no way does this horned creature bring me Christmas joy. And think in a few weeks he's going to be standing over a baby Jesus at the Vatican. How did we get here? It's a Catholic traveler. So I'm not preaching this as a Catholic basher. I'm saying, what's going on here? Even friends that I stand toe to toe with them on pro-life are saying this is bizarre. He's selling something to us. He's conditioning us to baptize ETs. So this goes way back to 2014. The Pope was asked, well, will you baptize them? And he said, well, of course, when the Lord shows us the way, who are we to say, no, Lord, it is not prudent. No, let's do it this way. Who are we to close the doors on the early church? Even today, there is the ministry of usher. And what did the usher do? He opened the door, received the people, allowed them to pass. But it was never the ministry of the closed door, never. So he's saying, yep, absolutely. And if you want to read Tom Horn's book, Exo Vaticana, Chris Putnam was part of that too. Yeah, I remember Chris. And this guy Consolamagno wrote, would you baptize an extraterrestrial? No, because here's the problem. We have souls. We can be saved. We will have a resurrection. And if you have faith, it's a good resurrection. All will be resurrected. I don't know what happens. I mean, some people don't get a resurrection. Not people, but creatures. They just are condemned, okay? But if you're a human, a standard human being, you will have a resurrection to contempt or to good. You will. Once again, more articles, 2017, Catholic article, could Catholicism handle the discovery of extraterrestrial life? Are we going to be baptizing ET or giving them the communion? This is getting weird, guys, so I don't know. I mean, this is just where we're going right now, and it's constantly coming out that the Pope is encouraging us to get used to extraterrestrials, or as Rebecca would call them, extra dimensionals. They're already here, they're just in another dimension. So this is Mount Graham, where this telescope is. It's a binocular telescope called Lucifer, light bringer, or it isn't the name for Satan, but most people think it is. It isn't. It isn't a name. It would be Hillel in the Hebrew. So McCain, years ago, this was a Native American mountain, and McCain just took it from them, and you know, and gave it to the Catholic Church. It's too bad. So it's a binocular telescope designed to be the first one to have contact with ETs. That's what it's doing. It's designed for that purpose. And this is our Catholic Church dollars at play. Lucifer 1 at the Large Binocular Telescope. So, what's going on also? Pope Francis is going to visit Babylon. So his first trip any place at all is to Babylon. Now, I can't say it's that Babylon, but there is a Babylon listed in the middle here, Revelation 14:8. Another angel, a second one, followed, saying, she has fallen, Babylon the Great. She made all the nations drink the wine of God's fury caused by her whoring. There's a lot of different places that could be Babylon. There's a lot of cities on 7 hills. But the first journey in 15 months is to Babylon, and it could potentially be, now right now it looks like he's going to be there during the end of Adar, but it's possible he would stay long enough to be there for Rosh Chodesh of Nisan, which is pretty big, people, okay? That's the new year right now. So just keep that in mind. Now, this is St. Malachi's prophecy from, I think, 1139, and he listed all the popes. All of his prophecies were extremely inaccurate for about 500 years, because if I was a pope, I'm taller and more handsome than you realize, and I'd rewrite my comments, you know, from St. Malachi. But then they lost the scrolls, and then they found them again and realized that he's been highly accurate, and they left him alone the last 400 or 500 years here, okay? So, you know, moving forward here, each one was exact down to whatever. So John Paul I, from the midst to the moon. John Paul was elected Pope on August 26th when there was a half moon, and he died the following month, soon after the eclipse of the moon and at the half moon. At the half moon, from the midst to the moon. From the labor of the sun, John Paul II, born on the day of the solar eclipse and entombed on the day of the solar eclipse. Okay. Benedict, he's a Benedictine. Well, that's the glory of the olive. So well, it works. Now, the next one is Petrus Romanus. Peter the Roman will pasture his sheep in many tribulations, and when these things are finished, the city of 7 hills, they believe Rome, will be destroyed, and the dreadful judge will judge his people. The end. And that's it in Latin on the lower right-hand side over there. Petrus Romanus. Qui perfectus. I used to sing, tribulation, the bus, quibus. Yeah, I used to sing Latin. I attended a Lutheran church for a while, just so I could sing. I love to sing. Love to sing tenor. I miss it. So the final piece of the 900-year-old prophecy, that's St. Malachi's prophecy. The Pope is basically saying that he will visit Baghdad, Iraq's capital, and Ur. It's linked to the Abraham figure of, to Abraham, Old Testament figure, and he will go to Nineveh, and it's very interesting that it'll be in March 2021. So Francis was talking about retiring here, just like Benedict, but he seems to keep on moving. So just be aware of it. So what am I getting at with this? Is he the false prophet? Pope Francis said that he would need 7 years to achieve his 5-year plan, and that, of course, means staying on until 2020. Well, now he's still on, and he really isn't leaving yet. So Malachi left Ireland for Rome to give an account of his affairs, where he reportedly received a strange vision about the future, including the names of 112 future popes. And so, I mentioned already the 111th was Benedict, the glory of the olive, which means the glory of the olive. And then the final pope is coming. So in the final persecution, I already read that. So this is what I want you to read. Lower right-hand side, the father of the current pope was Pietro, or Peter, who was from Italia. And even though the family moved to Argentina, he's an Italian. And his father was Peter the Roman. So he is the son of Peter the Roman. Just keep it in mind. Nimrod, Abraham, there's this fight. They were alive at the same time. Now, you have to assume that Nimrod went under a different name when there was the big fight between the 4 kings and the 5 kings. But just keep that in mind. There is this Nimrod thing from Babylon coming back again, and there's the Abrahamic Accords going on right now. So we've got this battle going on between wicked and good. And Abraham is a good one and came out of idolatry. His father was, Terach was an idolater. And so this is just very, very interesting. This is more of a Middle Eastern look at Abraham, that Terach, his father, took Abraham and gave him over to Nimrod, and Nimrod said to him, let us worship the fire. And so, Nimrod was an idolatrous man and wanted to worship, and you can see the Babylonian symbols going on there and things like that. So basically, Nimrod was an idol worshiper, and Abraham wouldn't, and this tells the story back and forth. It's very interesting. Chaldeans would be... they would be more like the Magi. It's just an interesting story, just so you're aware of that there is that fight between good and evil, and the Abrahamic Accords, and the false prophet and Antichrist. And once again, here's the story. I just wanted to show it to you real quick, just so you could see that Abraham, he was running back and forth. He wasn't Abraham at that point in time. He was fighting to save Lot, because Lot had been grabbed up by the Babylonian leaders, the kings from the east, and so then Abraham basically fights with 318 people and kicks 4 kings. Amazing, and recovers Lot and the spoils and the souls. So it's just interesting to note that that you've got, here it is, Aramphel, king of Shinar. That seems to be why am I blanking on his name right now? Babel. I'm sorry. I'm having problems remembering his name. Not Nebuchadnezzar, way before that. Nimrod. Nimrod seems to be Amraphel. And so he's one of those kings that fought, and he's one of those kings that lost to Abraham. Where are we right now? We're in the birth pangs. We're moving along through those. We'll hit the tribulation at some point in time. We'll go into the great tribulation for the last 3.5 years. You should see the 2 witnesses pop up beforehand. And I'm going to give you an interesting session the next time when we're going to deal with, I believe Eliyahu is one of them. And I want to describe how he left so I can describe, I think, how he's going to return. So we're going to have some fun with that. So when the man of Torah, who avoids Torah, comes, the adversary will give him the power to work all kinds of false miracles, signs, and wonders. That's what we're expecting to see as we move forward here. We're going to start seeing more of those things. I truly believe that Seal 3 opened up during the summer of 2012. It was prophesied, and the prophecy did match what actually happened in the real world. Those are the birth pangs. I believe that COVID-19, and especially the vaccine, is related to the 4th seal. And behold, a pale horse, and the name that sat on him was Thanatos, death. And hell followed with him, Hades, and the power was given unto them over the 4th part of the earth to kill 1.944 billion, to kill with the sword, with hunger, with death, and the beasts. Thanatos would be the word there. That could be the vaccine. If the vaccine makes you even more ill and kills people, that could lead us through. So COVID-19 would lead us into a horrible vaccine that has not been tested, and that could kill a quarter of the world's population. We'll see. So this is the 4 again, the sword, the Ramphea, drought, limo, death, which is Thanatos again, and then Therion, which is biological warfare. We'll wait and see what it is, actually. And then I want you to be aware that Pfizer is running tests on this. They're having safety concerns. There's swelling, pain, redness at the injection site, fatigue, and sometimes including fever that resolves within 24 hours. There are different vaccines coming. Which one is the best for me? Right now, you don't have much of a choice. What side effects? Well, side effects like mild symptoms such as sore arms, redness, injection site, headache, fatigue, more frequently than with flu vaccines. If I get vaccinated, can I look back? Can I go back to life as normal? No, not right away. So it's going to take some time, people. And I don't think these vaccines are going to be healthy for you. I hope I won't be taking any. So the vaccines are started as of this week. There's no evidence that COVID-19 vaccine results in sterilization. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay. And they claim from Pfizer that there's female sterilization. Well, facts that they don't contain the protein whatever, which is important for the creation of the placenta. So I don't know. There's a disinformation campaign occurring right now that's going to tell you everything's great, everything's wonderful. We'll see. We'll see. We won't force the vaccine again, but here's what we'll do. Amazon will force you to take it. Airlines will force you. Banks will. That is kind of like the number of the beast, the Therion, which is like biological warfare. No vaccine, no work. So keep that in mind as things move forward. That's from Zero Hedge. Seal 4 seems to resemble that, doesn't it? Seal 5 is martyrdom. Seal 6 would be coming after that. Then we would go into the first part of the Great Tribulation, the first 3.5 years. It would look like this. You'd have the two witnesses, and you'd see things about every 6 months. 7 things every 6 months. That's 42 months. That's 1,260 days. And you would not see the Antichrist until you get to the second half. And then he would pop up. You would see during the first half the false prophet. The bowls come out during the second half about every 6 months. And so watch the skies for asteroids and extra dimensionals. And what garments will you wear? It's a wedding, people. You want white garments for this. You want to be pure. So that should be the end of it for this session. And I wanted you to be aware of all of those things so that you could prepare for what's coming. I think you'll see extra dimensionals, people, and I think you need to be aware of it. And when you do, that's a sign of the mark of the beast coming and other horrific things coming, and ultimately the 3 woes / the 7 trumpets, which are 10 judgments in all, and not very pretty. So be blessed, pray about it, think about it, ponder it, and we'll get together next time. Bye-bye.